Arthur Teichberg is an attorney who is a tax expert. That's correct, Arthur?
Yes.
And you can help us in the next 7 minutes to save a lot of money?
I hope so.
All right. Proctor and Bergman are still here. I mean, these guys earn a fortune on the road. I mean, the road, you know, it's very lucrative. And here I am, TV talk show host. Help us and help everybody watching. How do you plan your taxes for the year?
Okay, well, let's start off in this fashion. Let's start from the very beginning. To start off, we should be properly organized. Now, what do I mean by that?
I don't know.
Listen, the foggiest idea.
I have no idea.
I wrote it down, but I put it somewhere.
I lost mine.
I can't remember.
Okay. Start a system of keeping records of, to start off with, your income, the various types of income. Wages, dividends, commissions, interest, rents, royalties.
Ransom, did you say?
Yes.
Ransom is income?
Any and all types of income that you might have. Keep a record of them and know where you're going. And then, of course, follow through with your deductions. Various business deductions, medical deductions, interest, charitable deductions, casualty losses, other deductions, every type of thing that you might think would be tax applicable.
Keep a record of that.
Right.
Any questions so far, guys?
What? Peter has a question.
Well, no, I have no questions.
Okay, we'll continue.
Now, let's assume that you're in December, all right, and you've done all this during the year, and lo and behold, your income is a good 75% larger than it was last year.
Oh, that's good.
You're in trouble.
It sure is good, but what can you do about minimizing your taxes?
Cheat.
No.
It's in the same school, huh, Boggs? Yeah, great, sure. Lie. Yeah, it takes them 5 years to find out.
No, there are many things that you can do to keep your tax bill down. To start off with, let's assume that during the year you've had several capital gains, and you are holding stocks which you have a loss. Now, if you can utilize that loss, that is, if you've had capital gains, take the loss during the year.
On purpose?
Yes, take the loss, sell the stocks, and you can offset that loss, firstly against capital gains, and secondly against ordinary income.
Okay, let's move on to shelters. What about the tax shelter for the ordinary man?
Well, there are many tax shelters for the ordinary man, but let's go back to other techniques for just a second, Bruce. There are several other things that you can do.
Oh.
Bruce Dern.
Bruce Dern.
See, I got him confused.
Right.
That's another way to save taxes is change your name. And
you remember me?
They're looking for his taxes. Bruce Dern didn't earn anything this year.
He
wants to do this show, in fact.
Gentlemen.
Okay, all right. Sorry,
You
Dad.
can prepay some of your expenses. For example, you can prepay your New York State estimated tax, your New York City estimated tax. You can pay all of your doctor bills. What I'm leading to is this. You can double up on your expenses in that year in which you have an extraordinary amount of income and take the standard deduction in the following year. That's an excellent technique.
Totally legal.
Totally legal, and a thing that you can do if you've properly organized yourself, you know where you stand, your records are up to date.
Okay.
I have a question for you. My partner and I, when we're on the road, keep records of our expenses, obviously, because we're in a very, very strange position where we do make supposedly a large amount of money for the work that we do, but our expenses are very high, you see, because we produce ourselves. Right.
Produce yourselves.
Now, I keep different kinds of records. Sometimes I actually keep the receipts from things, but Peter tells me that you don't have to have receipts for expenses that are under, what, like $25? Is this correct?
Right. Now, the thing that you should do is to start off with, keep a diary. Try to pay for as many of your expenses by check if you can.
Yes, I do all
If you
these
can't, utilize your charge plates because you've got a permanent record of them. Use your American Express, your master charge. Pay as little as possible via cash.
I have Debtors Club. Is that a good one to use also?
How about,
Excellent.
do you have Brink Americard, too?
Oh, yes, I've got all of those.
Yeah, and American Depressed. It's a great card.
Okay.
How about some tips in the final minute on how a person can avoid being audited?
Okay.
Yes.
Now, why are people audited?
I don't know.
To start off with, as your bracket gets higher, you're more prone toward being audited. Now, what can you do? If your tax fact pattern, as I call it, is unusual.
What's that again?
If your tax fact pattern is unusual.
A sudden change in
Let's
income.
assume that you have a gross income of $15,000 a year and you take off $5,000 to a charity. Your tax fact pattern is unusual. You can anticipate an audit. Now, what can you do to prevent that? First of all,
Leave the country is a good way to do it.
you can add an explanation in your return explaining why you gave $5,000 in that year. If you've got the check in which you gave the $5,000, you can include a photostat of that check in your tax return. What you're doing is you're anticipating the questions that the Internal Revenue Service may come up with. And in doing so, you will avoid an audit. Now, among other things, let's assume that you have a very moderate income and you live in a swank part of the area. You live in a real swank part of the area in which the Internal Revenue can assume that you should have income well into the mid-six figures. That is 100,000 or more, and yet your income is only 20,000. You can anticipate some sort of question, some sort of audit. Now, this in itself led to one of the audits that we had many years ago, a tax fraud audit, in that the people were actually underreporting their income.
Well, it's all interesting, I think, because we're approaching income tax time, and Arthur Teichberg, I want to thank you for being here. I'm not Bruce Dern. You thought I was Bruce Dern, didn't you? Admit it.
Yes, I did.
No, I'm Bill Boggs.
Thanks so
Nice
much,
to see you,
Bill.
Arthur.
A pleasure.
Proctor and Bergman here.
Yes.
You know his show, Bruce Dern
We'll be
at
back
noon.
with Oscar the Fish Mogul right after this. Welcome back to Midday. With me right now is one of our neighbors here at WNEW-TV, Oscar the Fish Mogul. Oscar has a great seafood restaurant on 3rd Avenue between 67th and 68th, and it's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
A couple of things, Oscar. First, you tell me there's a fish shortage. How come?
Well, I really don't know that. I know there's probably the oceans is probably being fished out. And the second thing, we haven't anyone to go fishing.
You have nobody to go fishing?
No. Our sons don't want to go fishing. The old fishermen who made it their livelihood brought fish in for us to consume, but now we haven't anybody else to go out in the boats and do it.
How did you get involved in the fish business 25, 35 years ago?
Well, I was a cook in the Army and places like that, and when I came out, I had a little seafood restaurant in the village, and I'm still doing it. I'm still cooking fish.
It's a great place. Let's go look at some of the fish you brought with us today. These two big red heads that are here, are they red snappers? Those big?
Yeah, snapper heads.
Uh-huh. What are the most, we'll go behind the table, what are the most expensive fish that you have in your restaurant?
All fish is now expensive.
All fish is expensive. How much have you seen the price go up in 25 years around the corner here?
200%, 300%. At one time, you paid 34 cents a pound for this. Now you're paying $1.50, $2. This is over $2 a pound.
These are your little friends here, right? These red snappers?
These are anywhere from $8 to $10 a pound, crab meat. Lobster is now $5 a pound this morning.
Tremendously expensive.
Shrimp is $6 a pound, $5.60.
What is still a good bargain?
Whiting today. They were very good and delicious to eat, by the way.
Yeah. How much is whiting a pound?
Well, they're running the price in the fish store approximately 75 to $1 a pound.
Right.
Fresh whitings.
What's the secret, the basic secret in cooking fish? If you want to say broil fish or saute fish, is there one basic thing to remember?
Well, the cook it not to cook it too well done, because fish has a tendency to dry out.
How can you tell when you
touch it?
And what should it feel like?
It should spring up by itself. When you broil a piece of fish, it should spring up. You touch it.
I see. Okay, listen, one other thing I wanted to ask before Proctor and Bergman come on, because Proctor and Bergman has some solution to the fish shortage. I don't know, we'll find out what it is, but what do you these whales that are beaching themselves?
I have no idea.
Isn't that weird?
First time in my life I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, it seems so strange. It's, you know, I think it's simple pollution. I think it's probably
Possibly.
the ocean is polluted,
Possibly.
and for some weird reason, it's affecting them. Their brains are hemorrhaging or something, and they're swimming ashore. I don't think they're trying to go to the store. I mean, I think that they're getting it down.
If we do, we'll sell them.
What segment of the show is this? This is segment 8, okay. Proctor and Bergman were very concerned that there was a fish shortage. And they've done some research on it. And I think, gentlemen, if you'll come in, they may have the solution to the problem here.
This way, doctor.
Yes, what do you have? This is Oscar.
How do you do,
Proctor and
Oscar?
Bergman.
Nice to meet you.
It's your father's name, Oscar. How do you do? Nice to meet you.
So what's the solution to the fish shortage?
Well, my name is Jack Couteau. I'm not related to the other Couteau. Is he still alive? And I've traveled all under the world in search of new kinds of food sources, and luckily I've found some wonderful ones which have been created to replace the poor dying animals. For instance, this is an example of the lovely little pop-top fish. This fish now inhabits most of our major rivers and waterways. It's a charming little fish, and as you can see, it swims here like this. It spins slowly to the bottom, where it waits for sometimes years just to cut open your rubber suit. Also, I have some pictures of some other wonderful fish. The beer bottle fish. Have you ever seen those? Yes. They have the little wide mouth,
Mickey. Yes.
Brown Mickeys. Yes, here you can see a picture of one of them. You see, it's not
Some
too clear.
lovely
I can't
label on it there.
Yes, this fish with the little jagged, broken edges hides in the silt, ready to schlitz your foot off. You've got to be very careful of that.
I understand.
Then again, here you have a very interesting food source. This picture here, can you see that?
Looks like a real monster. What is that?
That's a tire trout.
Oh yeah, it's a
Tire trout?
Tire trout. I believe it's a steel-belted
no, that's a uniroyal.
Uniroyal.
Polyfiber. Yeah, I used to have one of those in
Have
my
any
fish
idea
tank.
how you prepare this uniroyal in your restaurant?
That I would eat without it cooking, I think.
You know,
A good thought, Oscar.
this reminds me, seeing these two things here, that it's still not too late to vote for Ford and Dole. It just reminds me of that.
It is too
Here's
late.
one other picture
Yes,
we have.
just one last picture.
Can you see this clearly? I don't know if you
No,
can
it's
make
just all dark. I don't see anything at all. There's nothing there.
kind of
looking
murky.
at it, definitely you see this is the black sewage sludge, which is living just over the coast of New York. You know about it, right?
Yes, I
It
know.
looks like the consistency of black mayonnaise. That's why we are saying here in New York, hold the mayo.
Yeah.
Oscar, thank you for coming. Continued success at Oscar's, which is on actually third between 67th and 68th. A lot of good fish there. Proctor and Bergman are at the bottom line.
Yes.
Bottom line, right.
And I'm right here. We'll see you tomorrow on Midday at 1 o'clock. Have a real pleasant afternoon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. We get